We forgot about Klay Thompson because his season has been so traumatic for the Mavericks. Klay came to play games exactly like this, and you knew he was ready.
Forgot about Klay. Well, he was 0 of 10 in the play-in against this exact team last year, but didn't have Anthony Davis by his side to help him out here. Klay, AD, they had 24 points in the second quarter, and the Kings had just 19. Going ahead to the fourth quarter here, putting the finishing touches on this one. Thompson, look him here, cuts inside, hits a tough layup there. And then later in the fourth quarter here, it was Anthony Davis. Difficult catch through traffic, tough up and under layup there. He had 27 in this one, UD.
Yeah, he really came to play and lead the charge, and this is what we were talking about last night that we wanted to see from Anthony Davis. I tell you, this team has a lot of pride, and they got a chip on their shoulder.
And here's Klay Thompson on exercising those demons with SVP.
I know I didn't end my season last year so well in this same building, and I knew once I saw one go in and I got my feet under me, I was going to let it go until I missed. And luckily for me, I didn't miss that quarter, and I think that helped us separate and hold on to that lead, obviously, for the rest of the night. And it did feel good to exercise those demons in here. Man, let me get out of here.
Well, then to the fallout from last night in Sacramento as the Mavericks move on. Shams reported less than an hour after the Kings were eliminated that Monty McNair is out as general manager of the Kings. And less than 12 hours later, Shams followed up with the news that longtime front office executive and former NBA Today analyst Scott Perry is in. So let's just take a look at the Kings timeline here, because it was just 2 years ago that the Kings, they were the biggest surprise in the NBA. They won 48 games behind their Beam Team moniker. And that season, Sacramento snapped a 16-year playoff drought behind Monty McNair. He won Executive of the Year. Mike Brown won Coach of the Year, and De'Aaron Fox was the Clutch Player of the Year. Now, all three are gone just 2 years later. So, Shams, peel back the curtain. What was the thinking behind this decision-making?
So, with Scott Perry coming in, he's been an executive for 25 years in the NBA. He was actually in Sacramento in 2017 for a period of a few months, and then he went to the Knicks when James Dolan made him a big offer to go run that organization. The Kings feel very highly about his relationships, his ability, and he actually was in play potentially to go to New Orleans under Joe Dumars this week as well. So Joe Dumars gets the Pelicans job, potentially Scott Perry's in play there, but instead he goes to the Kings as GM. And clearly they've done a complete reset now in Sacramento. This is the direction Vivek Ranadive and that ownership group wants to go in. And Scott Perry's going to be the general manager. Doug Christie, their interim head coach, I'm told he's in pole position to be the head coach of this team, but there are still conversations. That's not a done deal quite yet. There are conversations that need to happen here over the next several days. Scott Perry needs to get involved once he's formally introduced, and those conversations will go on over the next few days.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of change happening for a Sacramento team that was the one to break that playoff curse and that playoff drought. What does all this change say to you, Brian, about the state of the franchise?
It's not a good organization. I mean, I wish Scott Perry the best. He's our former colleague, very strong executive. Domantas Sabonis gave his exit interview today. Yes. And they said, what do you need to do in the offseason? And he said, we need to get a point guard. They just had a franchise point guard.
Scott Perry was there in the lead up to drafting.
That they let the relationship go south on. I'm sure everybody's got their story, but the relationship went south. They had the Executive of the Year. The relationship went south. He knew he was getting fired because they already had Scott Perry hired. He knew for weeks he was getting fired. His assistant, Wes Wilcox, left weeks ago to take another job when he was a big part of their rebuild. How many coaches did they go through in Sacramento over the last 17 years? They finally found a coach who put them on the right path in Mike Brown. They liked him so much they gave him a contract extension last summer, and they fired him 2 months into the season. This is the definition of why they have been a bagged organization for decades. And maybe this new alignment will work. Maybe Doug Christie will work. Maybe they will get another point guard. Just look what they did. I like Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan as people. I like them as players. They can be successful. They were very clearly a poor pairing in Chicago. It did not work. Not for 5 minutes over the course of years. The Bulls moved on from both. The Kings brought them in. They had an alignment that worked, and they imported a pairing that didn't work and is very expensive. They had it in front office that was working. They disenfranchised them and drove them out of town. What are we doing here? Okay, maybe it will work going forward, but why would you have faith in it? Why would you have faith in the decision-making from the top? This is not an opinion. This is a reaction to the results that we can actually see.
Both are great players. Both can get their own, but just maybe not on the same team. But
clearly,
if you're Sabonis and you're an actual NBA player in the locker room, you only have very few years where you can look around and say we actually have a chance to win it. 2 years ago, Sabonis looked around that locker room and said we have a chance to win it. Now 2 years later, they have no chance to win it. My question is, what's important to Sabonis? And I think he really wants to be a winner. He felt that. He got a little taste of it. And I think he looks to put himself in a situation that can win. And you also can get assets for him.
Well, and that's coming from someone who knows a whole lot about culture building within the NBA. It seems like the Sacramento Kings, they have a lot of tough questions to answer here. And over the last 17 years for the Kings, they've had 12 different coaches here. All right, tomorrow night on ESPN, the play-in, the final Western spot is on the line. The Mavs and the Grizzlies. Coverage of this one, it begins at 9:30 Eastern. The winner gets to play the Thunder in the first round. So coming up, should we just pencil in the Dubs, Rockets, Nuggets, and Clippers to go 7 games, go the distance here?
Please.
Why our experts think this could be a long slugfest series. Plus, Kate Cunningham's journey from a 28-game losing streak to leading this Pistons squad into the postseason a full year later. Shams' conversation with the Detroit Star minutes away, and all the game-winning, buzzer-beating, high-stakes highlights that you can imagine. The best clutch playoff buckets ever, they're just right around the corner.
New Chipotle